Okay, so now we're going to take this standard deviation that we just talked about, and we're going to learn about the normal distribution curve. Okay, so this is how data should look. Why should it look like this? Right in the middle of your data is your mean, your average. Okay? Most of your data should be close to your mean. Here's your high flyers. So people who are exceptional, there's fewer of them. Here are your low ballers. Okay? There's fewer of those on the ends. Most of your data should always be closer to your mean. Does that make sense? Okay, so here we go. Mean is 71. So can you put 71 in the middle? The standard deviation is 4.5. So over here, you're going to go up 1 standard deviation. So can you do 4.5 higher? So 75.5, right? Have I taught you guys the storage system? Storage. You do 4.5, push it on your screen, and then you can do store it as X. So if I go 71 plus X, I get that. If I do plus another X, I get 80. That's my next tick. And if I do plus X again, 84.5. So I went up 1 standard, up 2 standards, up 3 standards. Okay, what do you think I'm going to do on the flip side? Minus. So I'm going to start at 71. I'm going to go down a standard. So I put it in my X. So 66.5. Boom. See how fast I can do things if I do these features that I know? So here's my 3 numbers. Down 1, down 2, down 3. Okay, so we're going to learn this later, but these standards are going to be what we're going to eventually talk about as z-scores. What do you think the standard deviation is in the middle? 0. Okay, the mean is 0. So what does 3 mean? 3 means you're 3 standard deviations above the average. So if you were writing a test, that's where you'd want to be, right? So if I told you you're 1 standard below the average, okay, this is kind of where you're falling on your test grade. Okay, there's professors out there in university that actually grade like this. Okay, it happened to me once. I've never gotten below 90, like ever in university on a test. And I studied so hard for this one hard class, and I had like a 72% or something. And then I thought, oh my, I'm going to get a C. And the professor said the average was 38%. So then he made a standard curve. And when he did that, he was like, okay, 38 was the average. And then he figured out the standard deviation. And then he was like, well, whoever is in this zone of the standard gets an A, a B, and a C. And then he figured out the standard deviation, and then I ended up with an A because whatever it was, but then that's how some professors end up grading. So that way of grading is comparing you to other people versus just a system or whatever. Okay. Ready for these rules? I think we all have to write them on our cheat sheet. Ready? So why don't you instantly write this on our cheat sheets? We're going to draw something like this. We're all going to do this. Do you want pink?
Yo.
Oh, what? I already have something on that one.
5 pieces.
Oh boy. No, these are all, we might have to run to the library. These are all,
Is he?
oh, I have like this, loose leaf.
I'm not sure.
I have like loose leaf though.
I don't need one actually.
Okay. 5 pieces there or
I
something?
don't need one actually, that's 4.
Okay, this is what we're all going to start with. Do I need to pause for people? Okay, so this is in your notes. Here is with data being normally distributed. What did I tell you? I said most of your data is kind of close to the center, the mean. Does that make sense? And then as we spread out, there's going to be less people that are the high flyers and the low flyers, okay? So here's the rules. Within being 1 standard deviation below or above, 68% of your data is within that restriction. Look at this. This is 68% of my data. So if I had people taking my provincial exam and I knew the average, 68% of my students should be within that zone. Okay, so I need you to indicate that. 68%. The next rule. Within the 2, above or below, 95% of your data should be inside those numbers. (95% of your data). Then, finally, within 3, 99.7% of your data should be within 3. Okay, so that's not quite 100% of the people. So there's a very, very small amount of people that are exceptionally high and a very small amount that will be exceptionally low. Okay, now we need to write each chunk. Okay, what do you think is just here to here? Anybody have a method to figure this out? Half of 68, which is 34. 34. Okay, then I'm going to do this chunk. Okay, so what do you guys want to do? No, we can't. They're not all even chunks. So something with the 95. What do you guys want to do? Any strategies? What do you want to do? We're going to take 95, yep, divide it by 2. So 95 divided by 2. So this has to be 47.5, but I've already used 34. So that means, does that sound good?
Yes.
Next chunk. What are we going to do? 99.7 divide by 2. Do we like that? 99.7 divided by 2 is this much. So this needs to be, so I'm going to minus 34 because I've already used 34, and that leaves me with 2.35.
Minus 34 and U minus 13.5.
Because this, and this should all add up to 49.85, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Do you see it? Okay, now I have a very hopefully simple question. How much of your data should be above the mean? How many of your data, what percentage of your data should be above the mean? How much data is the whole thing? 100. So how much of you should be above the mean? 50%. How much of you is below the mean? Half the data is below you, half the data is above you, if you are smack dab on the average. Okay? So, what's the percent of people that are high flyers? How many percentages of high flyers do you have that would be past the 3 zone? Can you get me that number? High flyers, low flyers. What's the percent of people that are amazing? What are the percent of people that are really bad? Can you get me a number on that? What are we doing?
0.15.
What did you do? You should take this 50 minus 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 leaves you with 0.15. Okay, there we go. Now we got this broken down. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to practice one question and then you're on your own. So you need this paper. You have to have it or else you can't answer these questions. Okay, give me your normal distribution curve. This is every time your normal distribution curve. You need a 0 in the middle, 3 above, 3 below. Okay, 80 is considered the mean. So where are you going to put 80 on this thing? Right in the middle. Standard deviation is 3, so you have to go up 3, up 3, up 3. Okay, you have to say this is 1 standard deviation above. This is 2 standard deviations above, 3 standard deviations above. Can you go below? Below, below, below. Okay, first question. What is the percent of data between 77 and 83? What numbers am I going from? -1 to +1. I'm going from the -1 to the +1. What's the percent of data between there? What percent of data falls between the -1 and the 1? What's your answer? 68 is your answer. 68% of the data. So you have to look at your chart. Question 2. What percent is between 74 and 80? So what am I going to? I'm going from a 74. I'm going from a -2 to a 0. I need to go from a -2 to a 0. What's your answer going to be? So negative 2 to 0 is this. So what am I going to do? Are you going to add those numbers? Does that make sense?
But how do those numbers apply to this chart?
It will always apply to every chart. You just take the zones. You're going to go from negative 2 to 0. You can convert everything to like these 1s and 2s. And then go to the zones, yeah. Somebody told me this answer. What was it? 47.5%. Okay, so we're going to go from a 74. So we're going to be going from the negative 2 spot. So I need to go from negative 2 up to 86. So that's positive 2. What percent of data is on your chart between the negative 2 zone and the positive 2 zone? So from negative 2 to positive 2, what's the percent chunk between those numbers? This is this. So my answer is 95% of whatever this is, the test takers. The last question is, what percent of the data is between 71, so negative 3, to 83, so that's a 1. Can you figure out that number? So you need to get me this zone of data from here to here. So I'm going to add. I'm going to add those zones. Anybody have an answer they feel super confident in? 83.85. This plus this plus this plus this zone.
That's still more than
Marcy, why are you holding the flag up there? Why didn't you get your kid doing it? What's that supposed to mean?
The wind.
Was she gonna fall over?
Yeah.
Really?
Can I ask you one more question? Because I see that I didn't give this. How much of the data is above 86? What if I did that to you?
I got 2.5.
Yeah,
2.5.
Yeah, I thought I had a 2 written in my bad.
How much is above 86?
2.5. Final answer locked in.
2.5% of the data. Okay? Because I could ask you that, what's above and then like beyond, or I could say also like below or between. Those are the questions that could come out of that.